A portion of today's broadcast is brought to you by Advice Interactive Group.
Okay, online shoppers beware. There's some new legislation that could affect your future online purchases. It's called the Marketplace Fairness Act, and it could impose a sales tax on your internet buys. Jonathan Kaufman from Advice Interactive is here to tell us more. So you're saying that under normal circumstances, it's very rare that you'd be charged sales tax?
Yeah,
on the
in
internet?
many different circumstances when you go and you shop online versus going to a big box retailer, it's rare that you'll find yourself paying sales tax. You may not even notice that you're not paying it right now. If you shop on like an Amazon.com, you would pay sales tax in most circumstances. But right now, it's not a legally required obligation.
So it doesn't deter shoppers from buying at Amazon because, we think, okay, so it's $8,
right.
Or $4 or
right.
whatever.
Well,
but also then each state varies in the percentage of sales tax that they charge.
That's right.
So that's got to be a nightmare for the retailer on figuring out, okay, California is at 10, Texas is at 8.25
Will there
or
just
whatever.
be a flat online tax?
Well, they're talking about it. There may be a flat online tax, but there's also the risk that each state would have its own tax laws for this particular bill, and you'd have to, you'd have to apply what those things are.
But then we need to learn how Amazon how they do that.
So Amazon does it because Amazon is a gigantic company. So Amazon, so you got to kind of take it versus your small mom and pop shop that sells, let's say, T-shirts online. If I'm that mom and pop shop, I may spend $4 or $5 at my own cost to purchase that bulk supply of T-shirts, where Amazon may pay $1 because of how much more volume
you're
they're
right.
buying. So Amazon is actually one of the companies pushing for this legislation, which has passed the Senate and is trying to pass the House. But Amazon's pushing for it because they have a real competitive advantage.
They do.
But consumers don't, the cost will get passed on to consumers, and from a business perspective, it's even more scary.
It's a night. There's something interesting. I shop a lot out of the Neiman Marcus catalog, and I will go in there and I will buy 3 jackets or whatever, and then she'll say, and the shipping is $35, and I said, well, I'm not paying that.
Right.
I said, I'm just not paying that.
Right.
Why would I go online and they'll say, oh, okay, hold on. Okay, you don't have to pay it.
Right, over a certain
How
level.
did I get out of that?
Yeah. And I mean,
was there something in there that said, if she calls, she doesn't have to pay it? Or is that something if everybody says, I'm not going to get this?
Well, on the shipping side, it totally varies. You can have sales, you can have over a certain volume where they see it worth it. But if you look at, I always kind of from an online perspective look at not the Amazons or the Neimans of the world.
Yeah.
I look at, Bob's T-shirt company.
Yes, and you're right.
Right, and the tax itself right now won't affect, if it passes, won't affect businesses that do under $1 million of revenue.
I got you.
But if you're under $1 million of revenue as a online merchant, if you will, then you're not taking home. Somebody may think, well, I do $1 million in sales. You're not taking home $1 million. The cost, the regulations, and if you put one more step in there, you're going to have to apply 50 different taxable
plus
scenarios.
Health insurance, plus all that they're tacking on to us. Okay, so what can the consumer do about this?
There's several different places online that the consumer can, obviously go to write their member of Congress or write their senator and just start discussing the issue. There's a lot of different places. Just do a Google search on online sales tax and you'll find 1,000 of them. There's more support from a Democratic side right now than a Republican side, but I will tell you that it has, just in the latest research, it has bipartisan support right now passing through. I attribute that a lot to the fact that the big box stores, the Neimans, the Macy's, have a lot of lobbying efforts behind this, and they're the ones that fund a lot of these campaigns. So
when does it go to vote?
I'm not quite sure. It just passed the Senate. They're talking about it right now. I don't think there's a dead date right now on when it'll actually go to vote, but it's definitely going to be within this year at some point.
I think they'd be real smart if they'd just shut up about taxing us more and more and let this go by the wayside and quit trying to squeeze people out of every dime they make and earn.
Especially now with the news coming out about the IRS being
Right.
under such a
The IRS now, is targeting 500 nonprofits that are conservative and going after them.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't do something about this, that's everything this country stands for right now.
I
is
totally
going down
agree.
the dumper.
I totally agree. I totally agree. The IRS is in enough hot water. They don't need to tread into this particular
Let's get
topic.
rid of it and just have a flat tax and everybody's happy. There you go.
Will you come back for more joy?
Absolutely.
If you want more information about social media trends, visit adviceinteractivegroup.com/TV. You can also send questions for Jonathan and the experts at Advice Interactive Group there, and you can tweet them at Advice Group #BizVisible.